Greetings, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Strategic Sage. This is going to be, as I'm sure you can tell by the title, a much different video than usual because I need to make a confession, an apology, a straight out mea culpa because I done screwed up. And I want to thank Zeronic over at the Arkan Discord for pointing this out and also being obstinate enough about it for me to reevaluate and find out that I indeed have been making a big error. For a little over a year now, I have been saying that turrets are 4 to 5 times as resource efficient as mobile ships, and that's not true. Now, by resource efficient, what I mean simply is the amount of metal or energy you put in to build it, divided by the damage or durability that you get. So, combat effectiveness, resource efficient, however you want to think of that. And I've often said that constructive criticism is worth its weight in gold. And it is, to me, and I want to be accountable to the audience, so here we are. The truth of the situation on that, and it's a bit technical and boring why I was wrong, so I'm going to leave that alone for the purposes here, but turrets are slightly better than frigates on that metric, and they're a fair amount worse than strikecraft. Now that's on average, there are outliers, depends on what expansions you have, what techs you end up using, but that's the overall picture. So does this affect my approach to strategy? Does it mean that I'm now going to recommend different things in terms of, should you go more ship heavy? Should you go lighter on turrets? And actually, no, turrets are not as overly strong as I thought they were, but they still are very strong. And I want to talk some about why and sort of lay what I think is the new way that I'm looking at this. And it really isn't that much different, but that doesn't mitigate the fact that I was still dead wrong in what I was saying. So one aspect is damage bonuses. For example, if you look at the concussion turret and concussion corvettes are the same deal, they have a bonus against low armor targets. And so you can't just look at the raw durability of something to know how long it's going to survive. You've got to look at, okay, is this vulnerable to various damage bonuses? Am I facing units that have that type of damage bonus, etc.? And turrets are invulnerable to a lot of damage bonuses, and they rarely run into some other ones. So for example, just looking at this concussion turret again, there is no engine. If we go to our detailed tooltip, we can see this more clearly. No engine at all. Well, you're not going to get a damage bonus based on that, and almost all turrets don't have an engine. A couple of them do, but that's it. Speed. Nope. Turrets don't move. Not going to have a damage bonus based on that. Not very common, but they do exist. Mass, 2TX. Mass damage bonuses tend to come in about 5TX. Turrets are in the 2 to 4TX range, so we can forget about that. Armor mostly are in the lower high range, and most turrets, not all, but most turrets are at that 80mm, so that most of the armor damage bonuses won't apply against them. Now there are exceptions. For example, if we just sort of scroll down here to plasma. The plasma turrets, up there at 120mm. So, okay, they're going to potentially get hit by some of that. But again, we go with Pike, that's at 80mm, and most of the other turrets are going to be as well. Look at the Bastille, that's at 80mm, etc. Then we've got Albedo. Well, that's at 0.45 for almost all turrets. Not all, but almost all. And the albedo-based damage bonuses tend to be at 0.3 or below, or 0.7 or above. We're not going to get hit there either. You can see a pattern here. Now again, there are exceptions. Ambush is at 0.7. So there are some incoming possibilities there, and that's because they have the cloaking. But otherwise, the great majority of turrets are just not going to get hit by those damage bonuses, which means they're going to survive a lot longer, so their effective durability is much higher than their health and their shields would indicate. There's another reason. Tankier units really tend to do much better. And that's largely because you can pull them out of the fight before they can actually be destroyed and you have to rebuild them, and repairing items is much cheaper than it is to rebuild something. Plus, as long as something's still alive, it still has firepower going out. It's still putting out damage, same amount at 1% health as it does at 100%. This is why, for example, the FRS bonuses were removed from golems. A big reason behind that is you can eventually get armored golems at 120 million durability, and that was just ridiculous because they could basically just wander into whole systems and wear them down and not get destroyed in many cases. So the greater bulk, the greater durability something has, the more valuable it is because the harder it is to actually get through and destroy it. You can imagine a scenario where, let's say you have a frigate, and then you have 10 strike craft. And each of those strike craft does a tenth of the damage and has a tenth of the durability. Okay? So if the one frigate costs the same amount as the 10 strike craft, which would be better? Well, it'll be the frigate, because it takes longer to destroy it. If you destroy half of the frigate, it's still firing out at 100%. Destroy half of those strike craft, you're only getting 50% of the damage going out. So that's why strike craft tend to be higher on that scale, because you're going to have to replace them more often. Of course, this calculus changes a lot if you're playing, a really big, complicated chaotic game with huge battles, high AI progress, whatever, because then you're going to start losing everything more often. But for example, if you're defending a planet, most of the time, most of your turrets are going to stay up. If you defend that planet with strike craft, you're going to be replacing them a lot. And so that's the reason for some of those imbalances. In terms of the raw size, the raw durability of a turret versus the others, a turret tends to be about as big as a frigate, roughly, plus or minus some, but much larger than strike craft, and much more durable. So for that reason, you combine that with the damage multiplier issue, and the turrets are really going to be still the most effective combat unit if you can use them. Obviously they're not mobile, so that weighs against them some, but defending your planets, I would still get as many turrets as you need to defend against waves, and then supplement that with other units. But it's not this huge gulf that I was embarrassingly viewing it at for quite a while. So I'll be interested in hearing all of your comments on this. And again, I'm sorry, this was not intentional, but I did want to get this out there. And, if you're particularly irritated, feel free to let me have it in the comments below, because I kind of deserve it, but I do try to get these things right. And if you ever are listening to what I'm saying and look, I think he's full of it, he's nuts, this is completely wrong, let me know. I'm not opposed to that. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all soon. More gameplay-focused videos.